Subscribe to the Artie Lang Uncensored podcast at artiequitter.com.
Al Smith was a guy, he was the governor of New York in the early 1900s. And he was a classic Irish, New Yorker. He grew up on the Lower East Side. He grew up under the, I know all this because I watched the New York documentary 50 times that came out. But it's so wonderfully done. I don't know how long it takes to do that. It was a 10-hour documentary. But there's 2 hours dedicated to Al Smith. And he had a lot to do with the shaping of New York City. So he's
that guy Robert Moses.
Well, later he was a city planner later who basically gave us Shea Stadium, another one of the landmarks. But he basically was responsible for sending letters to families in the Bronx saying, "Get ready, your house is being bulldozed because we're putting in something called the Brooklyn Queens Expressway." I mean, people hated his guts because families were displaced. They got a letter from Robert Moses, and he said,
that guy was ruthless.
Yeah, we need you out in 10 days.
He hated Central Park. He wanted to just bulldoze that, too.
He didn't like any artistic shit. He thought it was a waste of space. We need to... He wanted to put projects there.
Well, that's the most famous beach in Long Island, also the Robert Moses Beach.
Yeah, he was a... they had to name shit after him because he stopped a lot of traffic. Think about the problem, though. New York City happens, right? And then the industrial age comes about. And all of a sudden, there's cars. Now what do we do? People are now driving all over the place. It's a massive issue. And this guy was smart enough to figure it out. But he made the city uglier, But his argument was, what do you want me to do? We got to... There's people, there's ambulances, we need to do something here. And he just plowed. If he had his way, you're right, Central Park, he would have just plowed through it.
He was going to build an expressway right through Central Park. I saw some special on it.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Like a highway.
Yeah. He was a real guy. He just had no sentimentality. You guys got to move. And he did. He plowed right through these people's homes, and he built the LIE, the Brooklyn Queens. He built the tunnels. He laid it all out. And Shea Stadium was his coliseum. That was his project, and he loved it. And
when did most of those places get around when?
60s, early
50s,
60s. Yeah, late 50s, early 60s.
Okay.
Because that's when the World's Fair happened, and all that stuff by Shea Stadium with the big globe and everything. They kept that there, and Shea Stadium. He goes, "We're going to build it right next for the Olympics." He wanted the Olympics, and the Mets moved in, and then the Jets. And I mean, did you go to Shea ever?
Yeah, a couple times.
Yeah,
it was a dump.
Dave, you can't defend Shea Stadium, can you?
I like Shea Stadium.
As a Met fan.
I like.
You liked it?
I didn't.
It smelled like old
my
hot
God.
dogs, like rotten hot dogs.
I always liked it. I mean, I didn't hate it. The City Field's unbelievable, but Shea Stadium was okay.
is.
I never had a problem with it.
I have great memories of City Field because of Gary's pitch.
Well, oh my God, that
That's
was
the greatest thing
The
ever.
best is seeing you on the side when
I was in back of him.
You were trying to be a supporter, and there's nothing you could do.
No, I couldn't
When the
stop
pitch was the worst pitch of all time, and I'll never forget watching it. Watching that game, they didn't show the pitch, but in the 6th inning, they finally showed it, and all I see is you on the right hand side going like, "Oh, the poor kid."
I couldn't stop. Well, then I started laughing. I barreled over laughing. I'm in the shot laughing.
Yeah.
There was a security guard there, a guy named Charlie, who sounded like what Al Smith probably sounded. He was about 60 years old, and he goes, Artie, what's he going to do? Is he going to throw a good pitch, Artie? He said to me, he goes, "That's the gayest thing I ever saw, and I once saw a guy suck a tack." I said that the next Monday on Howard. Howard laughed for 2 days.
But that pitch,
the guy was just, I mean, what else are you going to say?
The best part was also that, if you listen to Howard, the month beforehand, the going to a therapist, right? The build-up and then the complete mental breakdown.
Well, it is hard.
Fascinating.
I threw out the first pitch twice out of a Newark Bears semi-pro game. And look, especially if you build yourself as an athlete, there is pressure, man. Because if you throw a shitty pitch, that's all people have documented for 15 years of you playing real ball. I threw a strike both times.
Unless you're 80,
I believe that there's pressure. I'm just saying it's
but the thing is that Newark Bears is not Yankee Stadium. It's not your favorite team. There's a real game going on.
Right, but that's the other thing too. In front of his kids,
and his kids were there. I mean, I said that's the day those kids found out they had 2 mommies. It was endless. The kid, but his little boy, Lucas, his little boy, came out there. He's 10 years old and said, "Artie, don't make fun of my father." That's what he said. I said, "I promise I won't." And then, of course, I said, "Listen," on the radio. I said, "Listen, Lucas, you got a life lesson. This is my job." Howard looked at me and said, Artie, you were there, right? What I was going to defend them? This Al Smith guy, he is one of the most important figures in the history of New York City, but it's also the first time snobs sort of pushed the guy away. He was the governor, and then he went up to Albany, and the people up in Albany were these like Elliot Spitzer types, really snobby, waspy people. And he sounded like me, I guess. But and he would tell stories, and they kind of were grossed out by him. And when he ran for president, none of them supported him. None of them. They sort of turned, and he really felt hurt by it. They turned his back on him. He was the type of guy where his father was a construction worker working on the Brooklyn Bridge, and one Sunday, when the bridge was just about done, there was a walkway across the river. This is something my father would have done. That's why I get almost teary-eyed when I tell his story. He said, "Come on, we're going to walk across the bridge." And he walked across an illegal plank that you weren't supposed to go on to the other side and back. Wow. And he was 10 years old, Al Smith. And he goes, me and my father were the first two people to walk across the Brooklyn Bridge. And, those are the type of stories he told. And these waspy guys thought he was just a criminal. And he felt betrayed, but he had a lot of power with the people, and he was going to raise a real stink. And they put him in charge. They go, "What do you want to do?" He said, "I want to build the tallest building in the world." And they put him in charge of the Empire State Building, and that's his baby. If you Google like the opening day, it's Al Smith with a big cigar and a big nose. You look like Jimmy Durante, and Roosevelt, President Roosevelt, Franklin Roosevelt, who was as condescending as you could be. He was one of those guys who hated him. But they're
he was
together.
the governor of New York too, right?
Roosevelt was, yeah. Both Roosevelts, and he and he's there cutting the ribbon, and it's like the biggest smile on his fucking face, and he got the building built. We're looking at it right now.
Yeah, it's amazing. Even back then, like, what was that? What year? The 30s?
1931 is.
Isn't that unbelievable? You see all those old photos of that too. I know you're fascinated by it too.
Well, listen, the fucking thing got built in 14 months because it was the Depression. Everybody was out of work, so these guys needed jobs. In 1 week, 14 floors got built. And they would get the fucking steel
from Pittsburgh. Right?
Yeah, it would get in a truck. They would get out of this Pittsburgh steel mill, which is a 6-hour drive. We've done it. And, they would get in the truck. They would get it to the Hudson River, like right here. They would put it on a fucking barge right across, get it on another truck, drive it to fucking 34th and 5th Avenue. They would put it up. Sometimes the construction guys were putting up, it was still warm from the fucking
Wow. Holy shit.
The steel, and they told about the rivets just tightened up immediately because how warm the steel was.
That's amazing. Because nowadays, I mean, geez.
Well, union guys, how long would they stretch that job nowadays? They fucking rush.
Well, I know from like living in the suburbs, like they had to put like a new like little sidewalk to get into the park. I swear to God,
right.
It took 2 months.
That's unbelievable.
Just to do one little like
Look,
steps.
I'm a union
8
guy.
steps.
I'm a union guy. I've been, I'm pro-union, believe me. But unions, in a lot of ways, they were very needed when they became about. But Jimmy Hoffa was a hero to those guys. But then people took advantage of the power, and
Well, they don't move slow. What I notice is
some of them
they
don't.
work for a day, and then they don't come back for 3 weeks, and then they work for a day, and then they come back 2 months after that.
I worked construction as a 17-year-old. My uncle got me this job, and I guess I was moving a little too quick. This 50-year-old guy said, he went to go, "Hey, Nehemiah."
Nehemiah.
Remember Ronaldo Nehemiah? That's what he called me.
Nehemiah.
The first guy who's ever called me something. I'm moving sheetrock through. He goes, "Hey, Nehemiah." I got a kid going to college. I got a kid going to college.